try so hard to be different, so stuck in your own head. You say you can't comprehend any.
Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Angel Baby Kyra. Make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Substack. I'm really bad at promoting my own stuff, such as me trying to promote my own stuff. If you like music, fashion content, makeup content, please go check out my other videos. Yeah, thank you for 8,000 subscribers. So if you couldn't tell by today's title, we're going to be talking about the Brat album, Charli XCX, Girl So Confusing lore, and just the cultural impact it is having on Gen Z pop culture and kind of my view on it as being a new Charli stan. I think that it really impacted me in a way that I feel like very powerful, and I wanted to like share it. And I know that sounds like, oh my god, you're like reaching, like it's not that deep. Music is a very moving thing, and I think that rarely see these kinds of instances in pop culture now. I just wanted to like discuss it. And I know that like people in fandoms, which I try to like not be involved in because it usually leads to toxic parasocial relationships, are very wary of new fans, which I guess I understand. It just seems very like elementary to me, so I just try not to get involved in that stuff. But like I've had my fair share of dealing with people with these toxic parasocial relationships, so I just want to put that out there. Like I don't want to identify with that, but I digress from that. So I just want to give like a background of how I love Charli XCX. I wasn't really like a fan. I wouldn't call myself a fan or interested in her music until recently. So she's always been someone that I've heard my friends speak of her. She had like a trending audio, I think, that was like, I don't know, on TikTok, whatever. But the first time I heard of her or saw her was her Boom Clap music video, which was being pushed heavily on Nickelodeon for The Fault in Our Stars, I think. I never read the book, never saw the movie, but that's how I saw her. And I didn't really think much of it. I don't know how old I was at the time, but I was probably like 14, 15, early teens, preteens. I was in my very angsty era, and it just didn't vibe with me. It wasn't my vibe at the time, so I was just like, it's just another pop girly. It doesn't really matter to me. However, recently, my opinions have deeply swayed, and also I think it's because I just got older. I just feel like Charli as an artist, and this album in general, is just honestly impressive, inspiring, and motivating as a musician, but also really made me introspective on my own life, and not just being an artist, but as a person. And I feel like that is why this album is so impactful to pop culture, which we will get into. But you're probably thinking, Kyra, what are you talking about? How are you getting all that from this Brat album from Charli XCX? Let's begin. I'm gonna be looking at my computer a lot, so sorry if that bothers you for any kind of reason, but I had to like make a whole notes thing about it. Brat, and why I think it is an influential Gen Z landmark of music. So music has always been a great signifier of the time that we live in. At least I'm a firm believer that that's kind of always been how music has been portrayed, or how you can look at music. It's kind of like a time capsule in history, which I think is like really interesting. If we look at the Beatles, British Invasion, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, and no, I'm not saying Charli's music is like these bands. I'm just giving an example to the iconicness of these music artists I just listed. I'm saying that they're culturally dynamic, right? So we see a shaggy haired boy band, first of its kind, to invade the US, like causing this commotion, while there is war and tensions with Russia and the USSR, so much that the Beatles have a song called USSR. In the Life also mentions the bombings of Blackburn, Lincolnshire, Jimi Hendrix being a black musician during the time of social unrest, and also we're having the peace and hippie love movement. I say hippie very loosely, and having these new ideals of using psychedelics and being free, and kind of going against the social norm of the nuclear family, which was also a really big thing that was like, Christian beliefs. We had the satanic panic. People, and mostly I believe the Bible Belt, were like saying that these kinds of atrocities were happening because kids were listening to heavy metal music. And I just think it's very interesting to see that. And as we see today, there's still a lot of things going on in the world, right? So we're fast forwarding to today, 2024, and we're chasing these new micro-trend aesthetics on our phone, watching the filthy rich buy $30 smoothies, telling us we need to inject ourselves with fillers, Botox, plastic, carcinogens, so we can possibly be liked and adored by everyone too. Gen Z and millennials are struggling struggling to pay for their housing, find jobs that can even sustain a comfortable middle class lifestyle. And our country is being ran by decrepit old men, and we are pitting them against each other in the elections this November, televised for the world to see. And TikTok is going to get banned because our government believes that the Chinese are spying on us through the app, while not really having the most honest track record themselves. And I think it's hypocritical and almost cynical as we're watching people literally being unalived while others are ordering a Happy Meal in a McDonald's drive-thru on their minimum wage, because no matter what we eat, it seems like we're being poisoned. So where does Charli XCX's album, where does she come into this kind of doom and gloom of everything? On our social media, on TikTok, on Instagram, these are places that we go to hide. These are places that we go to have anonymity sometimes, to go harass people, to go bully people, to just have an escape, or to just go binge watch a bunch of cooking videos, to go learn how to do something. It is social media where now our generation is going to find some solace. In this world, you can be whoever you want to be on the internet. You just need a phone, download an app, and that's pretty much it. And you can claim whoever you want to be. And Charli's fan base seems to have stemmed from this chronically online, but aware of their cringe and memes like female manipulator music. I think it's really funny. I feel like they're very self-aware, and I think that's what makes Charli so appealing to Gen Z, because she is aware of her iconicness and pack that she has. My baby just kicked me in the ribs. Growing up, I feel like most of Gen Z seen the demise of this celebrities and people that we look up to, especially like seeing the mainstream, and all cultures clash and coincide with each other. Charli, like I mentioned before, got her start with Boom Clap, and to many myself seemed to just be like another one hit pop girly. I was more than wrong, and we see Marina, who apparently also had a feud with Charli. I don't really know much about that, but that's what I've heard. And a lot of people thought that that's who Girl So Confusing was about. Lana Del Rey, Melanie Martinez, and Lorde are some of the like main alt pop girlies that we've seen growing up, and I feel like that was like a very evident era of the Tumblr era. I also want to mention Halsey was a very big one. I feel like we kind of stray away from them, from these idols as we grow up, unless they change with us. Lorde is the one who made the debut with Royals, and Lorde gave us the masterpiece Melodrama. Lorde who made the indie accent of singing pivotal for all of us alt girlies playing our ukuleles, our ho Tumblr aesthetic. Boy, it was a simpler time, and I really miss it. If you've ever been on TikTok, you may have seen Coco Moco, and she talks a lot about the celebrity hair theory.
Lana Del Rey is another really great example to tell if someone is going to be famous or not. And for those of you new here, hi, I'm Coco Moco. I work in media, and I've made a career off accurately predicting rising stars and trends. You guys have really loved my videos on the Hollywood hair theory, which is essentially the idea that someone is not going to be famous, or not always, until they have a really iconic hair that can be replicated. And once you learn about this theory, you can't unsee it everywhere when you see people blowing up. As you might know, Lana Del Rey was formerly Lizzie Grant, and she had this bleach blonde hair. And seeing now that she's always used references to old Hollywood, I kind of wonder if the Lizzie Grant was a reference to Marilyn Monroe and the hair theory with her. But the moment that Lana Del Rey started to dye her hair red, and specifically started wearing a lot of flower crowns, she blew up seemingly overnight. And like I say with all these artists, there's so many other factors that go into success and fame. Lana Del Rey is such a great artist. She would have been successful either way, but this is really what can help someone become a household name. As you can see here, the red hair and the flower crown. She really uses her hair to symbolize different eras. A lot of artists do this as well. I think that this right here, again, her references to the greats before her like Diana Ross. And with the use of flower crowns or headbands, she really draws attention, your eye, to her hair. I always say, it's one thing to get noticed, it's another thing to be remembered. And being remembered, sometimes a part of that is the visual element, again, which happens oftentimes with artists in their hair. But let me know your thoughts on the Hollywood hair theory and who else you think has used it.
And in the song of Girl So Confusing, Charli and Lorde both say or both sing together, people say we have the same hair. And Charli and Lorde both have very beautiful, dark, voluminous hair. During their time where they were both coming up at the same time, apparently a lot of people confused them for each other and it became a kind of running joke. And Charli seemed to go along with it with her fandom and just having an inside joke. But of course, she grew tired of it, as anyone would. It's not fun being compared to another person, especially when you're trying to be your own artist and you're trying to make a name for yourself. Not fun. So I can see how this kind of bothered her, or bothered both of them, and it sucks being compared. And Lorde is now blonde hair and a very different aesthetic to what she debuted as a teen. Lorde's debut music is kind of different, a lot different than Charli's, if I'm not mistaken, but Charli has always kind of been labeled a more hyperpop kind of thing, and this gets me into the hyperpop scene. And honestly, I think the thing about growing up is realizing that it's okay to change opinions, and I think different things from when you first experience them. Like I said before, I was in my very angsty era when I first heard of Charli XCX, and I used to be adamant and pretentious that anyone who used autotune was not a musician or a singer. And I believe if you wanted to go to school for music, to make a YouTube channel, like, you're literally dumb. Literally what I did right now. Now, being a hyperpop artist myself and getting into the hyperpop scene, I have grown a lot of respect for Charli's music and understanding it. I think this has a lot to do with me growing up and also being exposed to other things, going to school for music, and really bending the boundaries, because in music school, they really were only focused on classical music and just like belting and just big voices, and nothing really had to do with artistry, and mostly had to do with technicality. And I feel like you kind of need both to be a really successful artist or to be like an artist in general. I was always taught in school, like, to be a true musician, you only have acoustic instruments. Electronic music was weird. It's not okay. It's not real music. You're plugging something into a computer and using samples. That's not real music, which is farther from the truth. And my scope was always so small because that's the kind of people that I had been surrounded by in school, and the people that just regurgitated these facts towards me. It really hinders your individuality when you're around people who just have small outlooks on life, and I really do think who you surround yourself with really impacts who you are as an individual. And a lot of people are like this still, actually claiming that Charli isn't a real artist, and I've seen this because of the Taylor Swift fandom and Swifties. Not all of them, but a lot of them are like saying that Charli's not a real artist, Taylor Swift doesn't use autotune, therefore she is a better artist than Charli and deserves to be in the #1 spot on Billboard, despite Taylor reissuing or whatever she's doing, making a million albums to try to get into the spot, because she knows her diehard fans will do anything and will listen to it over a million times to get her there.
The award for pettiest pop star goes to Taylor Swift. Yeah, if you guys haven't been paying attention, Miss Swift and her latest LP, The Tortured Poets Department, has been sitting very solidly at that #1 spot in the Billboard 200 for 7 weeks now. Now, obviously, a lot of this is due in part to the fact that Taylor Swift is a very popular artist and a lot of people enjoy her music. However, what I found to be really odd is that Charli XCX, with the release of her latest LP, Brat, as good and as popular as the album is, there was really no threat of it landing at that #1 spot. But that week Charli released the album, Taylor decided to drop a new UK-only version of the Tortured Poets Department with some additional tracks on it, which is just insane. How desperate are you for a #1 spot that you need to make sure that you're still top dog in the UK? I mean, I suppose it could all be a coincidence at the end of the day, but from an outside perspective, it's kind of hard to ignore correlating factors here. It all just kind of goes to show how self-centered Taylor Swift's brand of feminism truly is, when it's clear that she has no qualms whatsoever with getting in the way of the success of her female contemporaries in the pop sphere.
People will see through that and will see through the inauthenticity of Taylor Swift's strategy of trying to be the #1 person. If you have a #1 album, you're going to be a #1 album, regardless if you are reissuing the same album 39 times in different vinyls or whatever. I feel like Charli does use her strength, and she knows her strengths, right? And to find that she's also a DJ, her boiler room performance is also a very iconic one. I really enjoyed watching that and looking into her. And she understands her strengths being of hyperpop and does it to her her, takes it to her advantage of her chronically online fan base, which I'm not saying it in a mean way in this instance, but she knows the environments, she knows the demographics, she understands the iconicness of who she is, and she utilizes these tools that she has, such as TikTok and social media, which of course everything is subjective, but I really believe that Charli has built discography someone like myself, a new fan, can dive into, get acquainted with. Working backwards from her Brat album, I was actually really impressed and to see the evolution of Charli and see how far that she's gotten. And to be quite honest, I was just assuming that this was all hype, like the album was just all hype. I have fooled myself before into listening to music because other people were saying how good it was, and I would rave about it even though I didn't really care for it. But this was a genuine time of, wow, I can't believe I have been missing out on Charli and have been sleeping on her. It's just insane to me that like how people can create such beautiful art. And no, hyperpop is not for everyone, but I feel the way that Charli does it is like, it's so different, even though hyperpop has been done before like a lot, right? But it's so different the way that she packages it and she has presented it to us. Song Mean Girls has just like a lot of pop culture references. I feel personally attacked and I love it. I love how, like, again, it reflects the time that we're living in. I love the cultural references, and I feel like this will definitely go down in history books. People will look back at this and be like, wow, this is what it was like living in 2024. Summer of 2024, Charli XCX drops the Brat album. I just think that it's really cool. She says, all coquettish with the flash on, worships Lana Del Rey in her AirPods. Like, hello, Charli understands what is going on right now. And she gets it on a level I have not seen much people like get it. Kind of reminds me, and no pun intended, of Lana Del Rey and her cultural references, her music, and obviously she's in a different genre than Charli, but she often references a lot of things of LA, pop culture references, iPhone 11, you named your babe Lavender after your iPhone 11, you named your stupid boyfriend, fuck you Kevin, NFTs, a lot of LA references and stuff like that, and it's just like really interesting. And I think this goes back, like I said, to music being reflective of the times that we're living in. TikTok microtrends, technology, and NFTs, things that are going on in the world, the misogyny that women face on a daily basis, and just questioning if you're enough, which gets me into the next song. I think about it all the time, where she constantly is questioning if she'll be able to have a family, she'll be able to get married or find a lifelong partner, or if she's going to be good enough for any of these things, which I feel like is a very common theme that a lot of young girls, women, people growing up, femme, are constantly being taught, constantly told that these are the things that you need to have a successful life or to be considered worthy. Like I knew for a while growing up, I felt like the only time I felt worthy was when I was in a relationship, and that's what a lot of people are like, oh, if you're not in a relationship, something's wrong with you. Oh, if you don't have kids, something's wrong with you. Oh, if you're not married, something's wrong with you. And I feel like this is something that a lot of people deal with in Charli, being able to be raw and just like straight to the point about it, about how she's feeling currently and being a woman in the industry and not taking the traditional route of homemaking or, you know, focusing on kids, which nothing is wrong with that, because obviously I'm pregnant, I'm gonna have a baby. There's nothing wrong with that. It's often things that women are taught, like you have to like choose, and one option is always better, is deemed better than the other. A lot of it, her album has to do with girlhood, and I feel like a lot of people are struggling with girlhood, especially growing up now and in Gen Alpha, Gen Z growing up, you know, like having to go through the panini and having to do school online, being isolated. And I feel like Charli really brings that to light and really talks about it in a way that a lot of people can relate to. The whole album, like, you know, seems to be like a big diary entry with nothing to hide. And of course you got the boppy bops like 365, Spring Breakers, etc., which of course again reflective of summer, which is right now, but wanting to forget about their worries for the moment, because there are a lot of things going on, and I feel like that's why people are really gravitating towards this album. And this is the last thing I wanted to talk about, Charli XCX and Lorde, and this is the importance of friendship and being lonely in the industry. I just want to say, like, I really resonated with this song. I didn't really know the whole lore behind it, but obviously I got deeper into it and it makes a lot of sense, and it really hit hard for me. And this is a song that made me a Charli fan. You know, I listened to Lorde, I love Lorde, I knew of her before Charli. I was more of a fan of Lorde than Charli. I'm a bigger fan of both of them, and when I listened to the song, I didn't really know what to expect. I kind of was expecting kind of something gimmicky, because everyone was saying like, oh, they used to be like not enemies, but they didn't really like each other, and now they're doing it like on a track or whatever, and it's almost like a word vomit, but but it's also like kind of the camp part of it. Like it's kind of word vomiting onto a hyperpop beat, and I really love the way that they did Lorde's vocals to kind of match Charli's vibe more. It was straight to the point, and like they were talking to each other. As someone who has dealt with friendship losses, or just like not being able to understand why certain people have problems with me, or just had friends that I guess had problems with me or had problems with them, it's just a whole 360 and not what we're used to, not what I'm used to. We're used to diss tracks, and don't get me wrong, I love my diss tracks, I love writing them. Recently we've seen the diss tracks with Kendrick Lamar obliterating Drake's career, Doja Cat with Okay Loser, don't know who she's beefing with there, and of course Nicki with Lil Kim. But what isn't there to love like about a good diss track? Like everyone loves it. It feels powerful when you know all the words, or putting it on and it gets you in a mood like you are that person. We never really see the opposite. We don't see empathy, we don't see understanding, we don't see communication, which I feel like a lot of beefs are from miscommunication. Besides Kendrick and Drake, that is not miscommunication, so don't take that out of context. I was rightfully deserved, but I love writing diss songs. It's just me, it's just my things I need to figure out. It helps me vent, and songwriting does help a lot of people vent, helps people put into words what they're feeling, it just helps you heal. Other petty beefs like Lil Kim and Nicki Minaj, Doja Cat versus her fans, even John Lennon, How Do You Sleep at Night against Paul McCartney. Something about the snarkiness of a good clapback, of a good, like, just people love to hate. People love to hate. It's the easiest thing for people to do is to hate, because having empathy causes you to actually think about things, to challenge yourself, to challenge who you are as a person. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to be challenged or do the work. And Lorde and Charli just hash it out with nothing left to hide. They just tell each other, like, Charli says, oh, I thought you wanted to be me. That's how I felt with my ex-best friend. She just wanted to be me because everything I did, she just wanted to do, and copied me and put me down because for whatever reason she wanted to feel better about herself. Sometimes I thought I hated her, sometimes I thought she hated me, just like Charli thought with Lorde. I feel like this is a common thing with femmes or with girls, that it's just we're brought up to be catty, we're brought up to be in this competition with each other, we're brought up to just think this way. And honestly, a lot of times it feels like it's just miscommunication and just a lot of projection. Lorde said she was dealing with an eating disorder. It wasn't really about Charli. She didn't really think Charli was thinking about her that way. There's just a lot of these unsaid things that could just, again, be solved with communication. But then, again, we're so into ourselves and being like, oh, well, they just hate me. It's easy to just think that, because why else would they do that? Why else would they tell me that? Why else would they, like, not like me? They just don't like me. And I think it's really introspective to think about, like, not everything is about you. People are going through things all the time, and it's not necessarily about you. And I feel like having this kind of unity as women, or just figuring out things and maturing, I think is a really good way to describe girlhood and how to be a better person. And I feel like a lot of it's relatable to Gen Z, who is trying to figure things out, trying to figure out friends. There's like a loneliness epidemic, hard for people to date, hard for people to make friends. There's all these friendship red flags on TikTok, friendship this, friendship that. A lot of people don't have friends, and I think it's due to this notion that we all think that we hate each other, which, I don't know, some people might. Some people are just bad people and just like hate you for no reason, are jealous people. Lorde and Charli both thought that they were jealous. It was not jealousy. It was just them in different spaces not being able to communicate. The influence of their fans, the influence of the music industry, and it's normalized to put women against each other. It just really messes really messes people up. I feel like if we had more empathy, if we had more understanding, these kinds of things could be figured out. And showing the maturity of hashing it out, even if it's on a remix, hashing it out and showing people like you can be friends, you can get past these things, and I think it's a really beautiful thing to see. And every time I listen to the song, I literally cry. Like, I literally cry, because it's like, I wish I could do this in my life, and maybe I'll come to a point where I can. But again, you can only do so much. You can't control the other person's actions, only your own. So I've had a lot of friendships where we have rekindled after a while, and they have come back and have apologized, and I really appreciate that. And life is very short, and it's reflective, I think, of this album, of just, it's kind of like a Gen Z starter pack to how we are dealing with life and things in general, and how we just want to have fun, but we want to know that we're being responsible, taking care of things, and getting an education, and pursuing our own life despite what other people deems as acceptable. So I think that's the end of this video. I know it was a lot of rambling. I know it was a lot of back and forth things. I try to put my thoughts into cohesive video and I'm really bad at it, but yeah, this is my video essay on Brat and why I think it is significant. Let me know what you think in the comments, and let me know what your favorite song is off of the album. I have listened to both the album and the deluxe album. Love it all. Yeah, so don't forget to like, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Always on my mind, but you never were there. Guess you never really cared. Got me